Mr. President, I'm here once again to address my amendment for a national greenhouse gas registry. As you know, this is an amendment that I'm co-sponsoring with Senator Snowe and two other Republicans, as well as Senator Bingaman. This is an idea whose time has come. This is an amendment that doesn't actually say what the policy will be with regard to greenhouse gases, but it simply requires that on a national basis that we collect accurate information so that we can make smart policy decisions. Now, I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. President, that the other side has not yet agreed to vote on this amendment. It's looking a little bleak as time ticks on, but I'm still here. And it really puzzles me because the senior senator from Oklahoma actually said recently in a trade magazine, Environment and Energy Daily, he was quoted as saying, after repeatedly calling global warming a hoax, he predicted in a short interview that this measure, this bill, would probably be adopted if offered. And I think that may be accurate. We have a number of Republicans that are interested in this bill. We've worked very hard, and we think it's important. And that's why it's very distressing to me that we're not even going to be allowed to have a vote on this. It's distressing because one of the reasons that Senator Snowe and I came up with this amendment was because we did hear what we considered something of an outcry from businesses across this country. As you know, 31 states have come up with plans involving greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, and they actually are starting their own registry out of complete and utter frustration with the federal government. It's just absurd to think that the majority of states in this country are having to put together a greenhouse gas registry because our national government is so complacent. And so back in January, we had a number of these companies that gathered together and came to us and said, we'd like action on climate change. And we'd like action on climate change, and we'd like to get this registry going, and we'd like to have it done by the end of the year. Well, I've been here long enough to know that we're not going to get it done at the end of the year unless we vote on it now. I just want to mention some of these companies that express an interest in this. Alcan Inc., Alcoa, American International Group, that's AIG, Boston Scientific Corporation, BP America, Caterpillar Inc., ConocoPhillips, Deere & Company, the Dow Chemical Company, Duke Energy, DuPont, General Electric, General Motors Corporation, Johnson & Johnson, Marsh Inc., PepsiCo, PG&E, PNM Resources, Shell, Siemens Corporation. They all said they wanted us to get something done on climate change. So you can imagine my surprise, Mr. President, when we found out that, in fact, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce opposed this bill. They never really talked to me about it. They just sent out a letter. And, in fact, they threatened that this could be one of the key votes for the Chamber this year, depending on how people voted on this little bill that simply asks that the accurate data be collected and be able to be posted on a website like they do in Canada and other places. But they said it might be a key vote right up there with the estate tax last year and some of the other votes that were national issues. There have been a lot of things said about this bill. The senior senator from Oklahoma actually sent a letter out about it, and he talked about how it would apply to virtually every business in America in this letter. Well, the simple truth is that we wrote this amendment with business in mind because we had the impression from what we'd heard that business wants to work with us on this important issue of climate change. The amendment contains explicit provisions excluding companies for which reporting is excessively burdensome or expensive. The new registry only covers major emitting facilities and major sources of fossil fuels. Utilities already reporting under the Clean Air Act would not have to report their data twice. For facilities facing costs in purchasing advanced monitoring equipment, the EPA would accept basic information on the amount and type of fossil fuels they consume, which is collected by businesses for general accounting purposes. And Section 165B10C of my amendment specifies that confidential business information will not be published under the National Greenhouse Gas Registry. The legislation also has an exemption for small businesses. The exemption is defined by the Small Business Administration businesses that generate fewer than 10,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. 10,000 metric tons, Mr. President, is not an arbitrary number. The American Chemical Society released a report in 2003 which talked about this as the threshold 10,000 metric tons.